One of the most common questions I get from men is this: why does it happen that months or even years after a breakup, my ex suddenly comes back, sometimes out of nowhere, saying she still has feelings, that she made a mistake, that she wants to try again, when right before we split, she couldn't have been colder? She was distant, maybe even hostile. Maybe she acted like she couldn't stand me, and now she's knocking on my door, sometimes literally, sometimes in my DMs. Like, none of that ever happened? Let's be real, this doesn't happen every time. Some women move on and never look back. But it happens often enough, and when it does, men are usually caught off guard. They start thinking, wait, is this fate? Did she realize I was the one all along? Was she testing me? Did she go through something that made her appreciate me? Today, I'm going to break this down for you in a way that you've probably never heard before. I'm going to explain the most common scenarios where this happens, the psychological mechanics behind them. And this is important why you don't have to chase or beg for this to play out. It can happen with you doing absolutely nothing to bring her back. But before we get into the scenarios, let's be honest about something most men don't want to admit. A lot of you still put women on a pedestal, even after they've left you. And the truth is, the moment you stop doing that, genuinely stop, is the moment you flip the dynamic. Scenario number 1, she leaves you for someone else. This is probably the one that stings the most because it feels like rejection and betrayal rolled into one. Maybe it's a coworker, maybe it's a guy she met at the gym, maybe it's someone from her social circle that you barely knew existed. You find out, and your brain immediately goes into overdrive trying to figure out what he has that you don't. Let me tell you something. In that moment, it's not about what he has. It's about novelty and timing. She's jumped to a new branch before fully letting go of the old one. In healthy relationships, you move through stages together: attraction, building trust, deeper connection. But here, she skipped steps. And with this new guy, everything starts with that electric spark. Why? Because you were still the competition before. She was partially unavailable to him, and that made her more interesting in his eyes. But here's the problem. Once she's his, that dynamic changes. Maybe he's been wanting her for months. Maybe they flirted behind your back. Maybe they've even crossed lines before she officially left you. But once she says, "I'm all yours," the game changes. The chase is over. For some men, that's when they lose interest. And this isn't always instant. Sometimes the novelty lasts weeks, sometimes months, but real life always kicks in eventually. Bills need to be paid. Personal habits start to show. Disagreements happen. Maybe he's not as charming when he's tired from work. Maybe she's not as easygoing when she's stressed. And here's the kicker. When she left you, she compared you unfavorably to him. Now she starts comparing him to you. It's human nature to idealize the past, especially when the present loses its shine. Let me give you a simple example. Think about college. Maybe you hated waking up for 8 a.m. lectures. Maybe you skipped more classes than you should have. But if I told you you could go back for 2 weeks, no responsibilities, just you and your friends hanging out, reliving the good times, you'd probably smile and think, yeah, that'd be fun. Or think about your first job. Maybe you didn't love it. Maybe the pay was terrible. Maybe your boss was an idiot. But years later, you remember the little things inside jokes with coworkers, that diner you always went to for lunch, the feeling of those Friday afternoons. Your brain edits out the bad and keeps the good. That's what happens with her. Over time, she stops remembering the fights and the tension and starts remembering the warmth, the familiarity, the way you made her laugh that one time in the car. And here's where doubt creeps in. But it's not just nostalgia. Sometimes it's a reality check. Maybe her new guy was amazing at first, but now he's showing cracks. Maybe he's controlling. Maybe he's emotionally unavailable. Or maybe, and this happens a lot, he's simply boring now that the mystery is gone. I've seen this play out over and over. She starts mentally comparing the two of you, and she starts wondering if she made a mistake. That's when the little pings begin, the random likes on your social media, the "hey, how have you been?" messages. It's her way of testing the waters without fully committing to reaching out. And this is just the first scenario. Now, let's move to the second scenario. And this one, honestly, is one of the most common reasons an ex comes back, that she sees you thriving without her. This is a big one because it directly challenges the story she told herself when she left. When a woman ends a relationship, she often has a narrative in her mind. He'll be sad, he'll miss me, he might even fall apart for a while, and that will prove I was important to him. That's not always conscious, but it's there. Some women even expect you to reach out, to try to get them back, because it reinforces their ego. But when you don't play that role, when you don't collapse, when you don't blow up her phone, when you're not lurking in her Instagram stories, it creates a tension she didn't prepare for. Maybe she hears from mutual friends that you're doing well. Maybe she sees photos of you out with friends at events, smiling, enjoying life. Maybe she catches a glimpse of you in public and you look better than ever. And here's where it gets interesting. It's not just that she sees you're fine, it's that you seem genuinely happy. You're living your life, meeting new people, maybe even dating again. And the human mind is wired in a certain way. We value what's in demand. If she sees that other women find you interesting, attractive, fun to be around, it sends a powerful message. In psychology, this is called social proof. In dating terms, it's pre-selection. It tells her on a deep level, if these women want him, maybe I underestimated what I had. Sometimes this realization hits fast. Maybe she sends you a message within weeks or months, just to see how you'll respond. Other times, she stays silent, watching from the shadows. She doesn't reach out because she's afraid you'll reject her, and rejection hurts worse for someone who once had the upper hand. So she waits for an opening. Maybe she notices you're single again. Maybe she spots a photo that suggests you're alone. And then she sends a little ping. This might be as simple like on your Instagram post from months ago, or a random "Hey stranger" text, or a question she could have easily Googled. Don't be fooled, these aren't random. They're her way of seeing if the door is still open without risking too much. I've seen guys blow this moment by rushing in, pouring out feelings, agreeing to meet up that same night. And while it's tempting, that kills the mystery. The power in this moment comes from staying centered. Think of it like this. If you've been hitting the gym for a year, getting in shape, improving your style, and focusing on your goals, the last thing you want to do is act like the same guy she left. The whole point is that you've grown, and she should feel that difference. Let me tell you a quick story. A client of mine, let's call him James, went through a rough breakup. His girlfriend left him for someone else, and he was crushed. But instead of chasing her, he poured himself into his business, started running again, and even picked up boxing. A year later, he posted a photo of himself at a charity event, dressed sharp, surrounded by friends. Within 48 hours, she liked 3 of his photos, commented on one, and sent him a message. You've changed. You look happy. He didn't jump into, I miss you too. He kept it light, friendly, and let her wonder. Within a month, she was the one suggesting they meet up. The point isn't to play games. It's to genuinely live a life that's worth living, with or without her. And when she sees that, it flips a switch in her mind. That's why this scenario is so powerful, because it's not about convincing her with words. It's about letting your actions and your energy do the talking. Now let's talk about the third scenario. And this one is almost like watching a movie where the plot twist is reality itself smacking someone in the face. It's when she leaves you with high expectations, convinced she's heading towards something better, and then life doesn't deliver. In her mind, you were holding her back. Maybe she thought she'd crush it in her career, travel more, meet someone who ticks every box on her list. She imagined a whole upgraded version of her life. The problem? Expectations and reality rarely match up. At first, she might feel free, even euphoric. There's this initial high, new routines, new people, new attention. She might be posting more on Instagram, throwing herself into social events, maybe even getting more likes and comments than usual. But over time, that dopamine spike fades. The likes don't feel as exciting. The new people don't feel as special. And the big changes she pictured, they're harder to create than she thought. Maybe her dream job interview falls through. Maybe her rent goes up and she has to cut back on the fun stuff. Maybe she gets into a new relationship that starts great but quickly shows cracks. Here's something important. The human brain doesn't just compare the present to the past. It also compares it to the imagined future. And if that imagined future doesn't show up, the present feels like a disappointment. That's when you, the man she left, start looking different in her mind. She remembers stability. She remembers the little things you did without her even asking. She remembers how you handled stress, the way you made her feel safe. And now she realizes those weren't small things, they were big things she took for granted. I've seen this play out so many times. At first, she might not admit it, even to herself. She'll still post confident photos, still project that everything's going great. But late at night, or when she has a bad day, you'll cross her mind. She might scroll through old photos or reread old messages. She might even talk about you to a friend, casually, like it's no big deal. But the seed is planted, and the more her reality falls short of her expectations, the bigger that seed grows. This is why I tell guys, never compete with the fantasy in her head. You can't, if she's built up an ideal image of her future without you, there's nothing you can say to beat it. But reality always competes for you. Reality always has the last word. And here's the ironic thing. Sometimes her better life is genuinely decent, but because it's not the exact fantasy she pictured, she still feels let down. That gap between expectation and reality is powerful. It's the same reason people get post-vacation blues. You plan a trip for months, imagine every moment being perfect, and then you come back and realize, yeah, it was good, but it wasn't flawless. Relationships are the same. When she thought you were the problem and the grass would be greener, she set herself up for this moment. And when she hits it, she starts to think, maybe I made a mistake. That's when the pings start again. The small, safe ways of testing the water without committing. And here's the thing, these moments aren't accidents. They're calculated emotional feelers. They're her way of gauging if she still has a place in your life, even if she's not ready to openly admit regret.